busy in my worship. I mean, imagine this. And his mother says to him, what? I hope you don't die until you meet al-baghiyah, until you meet the prostitute. And he didn't understand that at that point. But what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? Allah Azza wa Jal sends a prostitute with a child, and she says, he's the father. Think about that. Because he was busy with his ibadah and he wasn't answering his mother to go feed the chickens. Think about that. It sounds silly. But here's the thing. When you called upon your mother as a child because you needed to be fed, did she ever say no? No. Did she ever say, I'm busy doing my salah? Never. It didn't happen. You know, Zayn al-Abidin, Ali ibn al-Husayn radiyallahu ta'ala anhu wa rahimahullah, the great grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, had a beautiful example. When he used to eat with his mother, and his mother would be eating from the same plate as him, he would refuse to eat until she finished eating. And she would say, oh my son, why aren't you eating? And he says, I'm afraid that I would eat something that you had your eye on. I don't want to eat something that you were looking at and deprive you of that food. Why? Because when you were a child, if your mother has a slice of pizza, and she's had nothing to eat for the entire day, right? She's starving, and this slice of pizza gets presented, and this little baby comes, and this little baby has been eating all day, right and left, cookies, chips, everything that you can possibly imagine, paper towels and sand off of the beach, and everything that came in his hand, or her hand. And then you're about to take a bite of that pizza. I'm not going to do an actual demonstration, although I'm really tempted to. And then the baby goes, Dad? What's going to happen? She's going to take a piece, and she's going to put it in the she's going to feed the baby. She never would have responded with no. And whenever the man comes to Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, what some say, it's authentic to Abdullah ibn Umar, some say it's marfu' to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he says, Ya Rasulullah, I carried my mother on my back for the entire Hajj. This is before you had the cool tiles, and you had the AC, and you had the Mecca Hilton, and this is before all of that. This is when it was so hot that, you know, the people that, you know, my father lived in Medina in the 50s, and he used to tell me when you do Hajj, you're constantly moving your feet because your feet are burning from the stone. And he says, Ya Rasulullah, I carried my mother on my back for the entire Hajj. Or to Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Have I repaid her? What was the answer of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? وَلَا بِطَلْقَةٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. Not even with a single cry that she had in labor. She carried you for 9 months. You carried her for one Hajj and you think it's over? SubhanAllah. We are so ungrateful to our mothers in the time of marriage. And this is something that I know it's a controversial topic. It needs a lot of explanation. And it needs a lot of elaboration. Everything is balanced. Please, we're talking about it from one perspective now. Brother A and sister B want to get married. They already formed a relationship outside of the marriage, and then they come to their parents and they say, Mom, Dad, I want that person. And the mom has a legitimate excuse. Or the mom just doesn't feel too comfortable. And you say, Mom, I don't care what you say, I'm a grown man now, I'm going to marry her anyway. You're willing to sacrifice a relationship that started with your existence in this dunya for 25, 30 years for a person that you just met the other day through an MSA or through Facebook or whatever it is. You're willing to get rid of that. You're willing to dissolve that relationship like that. Now, I'm not saying there is in Islam times that the person can get married even without his parents' approval. That the brother, and even if the sister, if the wali does not have a legit excuse, yes, there are procedures. But marriage is about sakina. Marriage is about tranquility. Think about this. So I'm not talking about what's halal right now, what's legally permissible. I'm talking about, think about it. Wake up. Wake up and think about it for a minute. You're willing to sacrifice the relationship of your parents for someone that came and caught your attention for a month or so. That is the most ungrateful thing that you can do. Alright? And if you want to hear what our imams used to say, yes, in the madhab of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, it is legally permissible, and this is through consensus, for the man to marry without the wali. Without his own wali. The man doesn't need a guardian. And for a woman, if the wali does not have a legitimate excuse, Perhaps in the madhab of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, of course the Hanafi madhab, the wali is not required. In the madhab of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, it's an easy procedure. Go to the sultan, present your case, the sultan sees that you don't have a legitimate excuse to stop this marriage, it's legally permissible. When did Imam Ahmad get married? Anyone know? He refused to get married until his mother died. He refused. It's not like he was waiting for her to hurry up and die, by the way. Alright? I'm not talking about that. He felt like he would not be able to do his duty towards her while being married at the same time. So, and he didn't recommend this, it's not the sunnah. The sunnah is to get married as young as possible. But sometimes we go beyond the bounds of legality and we think about the essence of things. He said, I'm not going to get married while she's still alive. It's legally permissible, it's sunnah, but I will not be able to be just with my mother. Now what happens, and go back to the statement of Imam al-Qayyim rahimahullah, whoever is not grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be grateful to people. It's a business contract. Your parents get old. My courtesy to you is putting you in a nice nursing home. My courtesy to you is calling you every once in a while. But if you keep getting more demanding, I'm going to say, how come my brother doesn't do it? How come my sister doesn't do it? Whenever you called upon your mom when you were a child, did she ever have that liberty? No. Ummuka, ummuka, ummuka. Your mother, your mother, your mother. The most important thing. And then your father too. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith from Abi Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu,